A wiser feller than myself once said, sometimes you eat the turd sandwich, sometimes the turd sandwich, well, it eats you.
I finally saw Deadpool and Wolverine
Yes.
about a week and a half ago.
Yes. At time of recording, listener, because you might be hearing this a lot later, it's August 21st.
Yeah. And I saw it on August 11th.
Nice.
10 days ago.
Nice.
I'll see if I was able to hold on to any of my thoughts about it.
I'm trying to think as well, because it's been
you saw it
at
like a
least
month ago.
3 weeks. Yeah, at least 3 weeks since I've seen it. There's still key things I remember.
But, so when I was in the theater, Nicole Kidman was sitting on my lap.
Yes.
We were watching the movie, and with the opening bit where Deadpool's playing with Logan's skeleton and doing an Australian accent, she was like, "I don't like that.
I take offense to that.
I take offense to that. He's making fun of my accent, using the corpse of one of my friends. You know, I was in a movie with you once. We were in the movie Australia together." But no, it's I find it interesting, you know, how they were able to how they directly addressed, like, so how are we going to do this without disrespecting Logan's memory, and then immediately being like, we aren't.
Yeah.
I feel like just confronting it head on like that is like probably the best thing to do.
Oh yeah.
People get so weird about that stuff. It's like that Logan is still there, you know what I mean? Like that movie,
yeah.
It doesn't matter what this movie does. That movie, like, people act like these are sacred texts, like you can't even address without like damaging it in some way. It's like, shut up. You suck.
Yeah.
Go away and learn how to have fun. Then you can come back and talk to me.
I think it was like honestly the best way to go about doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, because people are going to, like, no matter what you do, are going to say, "Oh, you're digging up the corpse of Logan," like metaphorically, like you're digging up the corpse of Logan in that movie by doing this movie, and it's like, well, let's just literally do that.
Let's just literally dig up the corpse. Yeah, and I loved the opening sequence where She-Hulk twerked with Megan Thee Stallion. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on, I think I got my notes mixed up here. Yeah, no, that was Deadpool dancing to an NSYNC song, but we're allowed to be okay with this one because it's a man.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, as well as like that is actually an interesting point, because this is like a 5 to 6 minute sequence.
Yeah.
Whereas the Megan Thee Stallion She-Hulk thing was at like the end credits thing of an episode, and it was only like 20 or 30 seconds long.
Yeah, it like barely took up anyone's time, and you didn't even have to stick around for it.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't a part of the main story plot that happened. It's just an end credit thing. And
this dance sequence is literally how we're introduced, or like reintroduced to Deadpool in this movie.
This is the start of the movie.
The beginning of the opening credits of the movie that are carved into Logan's bones.
Yeah.
While Deadpool literally uses every metal bone in his body to
kill these TVA guys. Yeah.
So, you know, it's a double standard.
Yeah.
Like, I see like a lot of weird stuff on the internet. Like I don't follow rapists. But like, there's one thing. What's that?
Never mind. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say it's pronounced another way.
But there was one thing that I saw. It was about like Megan Thee Stallion, and it was like some nerd made a thing where it's like she's probably just pretend, like, because she famously is an anime fan.
Right.
And so it was like she's probably just pretending to like anime so that she can like reach the weeb demographic sort of thing. And someone else, probably a woman, had the most insightful response, saying like, "You nerds will literally make up a narrative about someone pretending to like something rather than believe for a second that literally the most beautiful woman on the planet shares your interests.
Yeah, for real. And no evidence had to come out from that. I think that would be stupid if
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, we have to see we have to see the evidence. But like evidence did come out. Like she was in high school. There was like a video of her like sitting at a cafeteria table talking about anime.
Yeah.
It's like no, like she's been a fan of this stuff like long before she became big. So yeah, I
people are weird about famous women.
Yeah, it gets very incel like a lot of times online. It's very weird how much people will just bash them and stuff and like barely know anything about them. And I remember, and it still happens because you mentioned the She-Hulk Megan Thee Stallion little clip at the end,
which I like that scene personally.
I like it,
and for exactly the reasons you think I do.
I mentioned before when we had talked about She-Hulk, like I actually like the She-Hulk show. I think it's a good, funny show.
Yeah, I like that show too. I don't get what people like. If you don't like it, if it's not to your tastes, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if you're one of those like air quotes culture warriors who thinks that it's an attack on manhood and masculinity, it's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you gotta like look deep within yourself because you're doing some self-reflecting right there. Like that's some projection. That's not what it is. Yeah, there's very much you're projecting. Because like with that, the memes of like Marvel trash and showing a screenshot of the Megan Thee Stallion She-Hulk dance scene, like those memes still go around. I think I saw one within the past week, and it's like you're. It was an end credit thing to an episode.
Yeah,
like and I thought it was kind of funny. And yes, it is nice to look at. But
yeah, like I said earlier, I like that scene for exactly the reasons everybody thinks I do. Because I am I have my monster effer license according to my friend Trevor. So so I'm into all sorts of like inhuman or human adjacent characters being sexualized, and She-Hulk definitely qualifies for that. Plus, as I said before, Megan Thee Stallion, I might not be a fan of her music, but like, look at her.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where like, because I remember when I had talked about She-Hulk on the store brand like a couple years ago, because I had saw it like months after it came out. I remember I was very late to watching it.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it and being like, I don't understand like people holding on to that scene so much with these memes and bashing the show. I don't get it. Like it still doesn't make sense to me to this day. Like you said, you can not like the show. That's okay. Like I had already mentioned, I'm not a big fan of Alien Romulus and everyone loves Alien Romulus. That's fine. You cannot like this show, but like to hold on to this one tiny thing that isn't even a part of the main episode, and also how you're perpetrating it in these memes before I had seen the show, you're making it seem like this is a B plot of the episode, or it's like the main plot that this scene happens for minutes or whatever.
Yeah, and that like a part of the plot of the episode is that Megan Thee Stallion is teaching She-Hulk to twerk.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's that modern discourse with all this stuff.
Yeah, no, our entire generation is completely media illiterate.
Yeah, and that was another thing, thinking about the She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion thing. And not only that, we had talked about this before, but the first episode or whatever that everyone got hung up on with She-Hulk saying the I forgot. I'm
that
paraphrasing.
she's better at managing her anger, basically.
Yeah. It was like those two things that everyone got hung up on and bashed the show and said it was awful because of those two things. Whereas, like, we talked about it, like, we already mentioned the Megan Thee Stallion thing. That's a end credit thing. That is just a goofy little thing that does not matter to the plot of the episode. Then the whole I can manage my anger better than you. We had talked about it. It's her opinion / her perspective, and she's like, you see growth with She-Hulk throughout the show. This is the beginning of where you see her. And she's not saying like it's not like Marvel and the writers are saying like, well, this woman can manage her anger better than Bruce Banner, the Hulk, who has all these problems. It's not that. It's just she is a human. Like, and she's
having an argument.
Exactly. Like, it's not a definitive statement. It's her having this argument, saying this thing. It's not a definitive fact or statement that she's saying.
And wrestling with it's not like obvious. It is one of the more subtle themes of the show. But wrestling with her anger as a new Hulk is a part of the show.
Yeah.
There are times we see in the show that she does have difficulty managing her emotions just as much as Bruce has had in the past.
Yeah. Like, if I remember right, there's like one part of the show where like she doesn't crumble. I'm not saying that, but she like realizes like, oh, like I haven't really been managing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's humans.
Yeah.
That feels real. We think we have stuff worked out when really we might not.
And at the same time, too, it's also like the show itself reflects how men and women manage anger differently, because men lash out physically with their anger more. It's a stronger impulse in us. Whereas women are a lot more subtle about the way that they lash out when they're upset.
Yeah.
It's a lot less physical with them.
Right.
And like she does plenty of lashing out at people in the show. Like, the show shows us that she's wrong about being able to manage her anger. But people look at that as a flaw. They look at that as a plot hole. Like, see, she can't manage her anger like she said she can. It's like, it's because she was wrong. And the show is showing us that.
That's a part of the plot. That's a part of her growing as a character.
A part of her growth is recognizing that maybe she should have listened to more of what Bruce had to say.
Yeah, exactly. And the issue with, I know this is supposed to be a Deadpool and Wolverine review. We'll get back to that.
It'll be a Deadpool and Wolverine review. It's just
But like the issue with that is like a decent bit of people watched that scene and got that narrative out of it. It's the wrong narrative. Definitively it is. If you're looking at the story, it's showing you that, hey, she's building as a character and all the stuff that Teo had mentioned before. Like, that's what's happening here. These people missed it, and then so they make these memes and all these posts and all these hate posts and stuff and post it all over social media. And then the wildfire spread that you see, the majority of people that are sharing these did not even watch the show.
Yeah.
Like they just saw She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion twerking. And they think, oh my God, what is this show? Obviously, this show sucks.
It's like the people who are mad about The Acolyte. For me personally, I don't think I'm going to bother watching The Acolyte.
Yeah, me neither.
But there's so many people who both have and haven't watched The Acolyte that let it like make them mad. And all I can think is like, why? Why? Genuinely, who still cares enough about Star Wars to get mad about something in it?
And on top of that, there's so much Star Wars stuff out there. Like, why does it matter to you if you still care about Star Wars if one show isn't good.
Yeah. You keep like there's so much of it. It's like they're not all gonna be good.
Yeah, like I kind of understand if it was like this piece of media, this franchise you really like, and they're starting to come out with this stuff, and you haven't seen something from this franchise in 10, 15 years or whatever, and they're not going to make another one for another 5 to 10 years or whatever. I could see like in that case where it's like, man, like this sucks. Like I love this franchise. I've waited so long for this thing, and now this wasn't that good, and now I got to wait another 10 years before they might make a good thing with this franchise. That's not Star Wars though.
No.
Like there is a Star Wars thing coming out every few months.
Yeah.
Like you're not dying of thirst. You're not dying of thirst of no Star Wars stuff coming out.
Yeah. And the problem is that like every Star Wars fan wants every Star Wars thing to meet their idea of what Star Wars was supposed to be after the original trilogy ended.
Yeah.
And like, because like there are still, in my opinion, too many Star Wars fans alive who were young when those original movies came out.
Yeah.
And that old guard, I think, has a lot of influence. Now, there are plenty of old, like real old Star Wars fans who are still totally on board and liked the Acolyte. I've seen them.
Yeah.
And they're like, heck yeah, I just like Star Wars. And you know what? Like, good for you, dude. Like, there's something that makes you happy, and you're just pursuing it. And I have to congratulate you. Star Wars was never that for me. I like when it comes to Star Wars things, I got to be a little more selective about which ones I want to watch. But if you're like but like that's Marvel for me though, right? Like, so I get that. You know what I mean? Like that there is someone who cares enough about Star Wars that they'll sit and watch literally any Star Wars thing and be satisfied. Because that's what Marvel is for me. That's like I am that way. So I like. Yeah, and I don't get why it's become so much a part of fandom culture to attack and bring down people who just want to enjoy something they care about.
Yeah. Like if someone likes something, like that's great. Like I don't know if I mentioned it enough, but like with Alien Romulus, I'd mentioned I'm in the minority of thinking it was fine. But hey, if people love it, if people like it, I'm okay with that. Like if I'm never going to be like bashing or somehow be angered if people are finding happiness in something.
Yeah.
Like that's this might sound like dark or whatever, but like that's a big part of our life is like finding these temporary happy moments. Not saying our life as a whole isn't happy, but finding these spikes to our happiness. Like and media can do that, and it has a different effect on everyone. Yeah. And so if it can give that to some people, that's great. We're all just searching for that little happy spike every once in a while.
Yeah, and I've said this before, and I'll probably say it a million more times before I die, but like if Star Wars used to make you happy but doesn't make you happy anymore, watch something else.
Yeah. I mean, literally that's I can't voice for Teo, but based on what we've talked about, I'd possibly say this. At least for me, that's what I've done. Like Star Wars doesn't really bring me any joy or happiness anymore, so I just watch other stuff. I just turn to other stuff. And me saying that, I didn't mean that in like a rough, mean way of like I get no happiness from Star Wars.
Makes me sad now.
No, I'm not saying that. It's more like I just don't care about it that much anymore. So I'm just going to go watch this stuff over here.
I'm largely the same. Like I haven't really cared about Star Wars in a good while. and I don't feel the need to, like, eventually I'll get around to the stuff that I hear is really good, like Andor.
Right. Yeah.
But like for the most part, I'm good. Star Wars can just be the 9 movies, because there are 9 movies, 9 canon movies. I know it makes people angry to hear that, but I'm gonna keep jamming that down your throat. You don't get to decide canon.
Well, I'll say this: in your own head, you can decide canon, because at
No,
the
you
end of the
can't.
day, you can. None of this matters. In the end, none of this matters. You
I
can
know-
decide that,
I
but
know
you
that
can't. You
ultimately-
can't dictate. You can't dictate your head canon on other people. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, cool. Also, you're not allowed to decide canon. The people who actually put the work and resources into creating the media decide the canon.
They decide canon, but if it's you yourself, like, no one can force you to think this way or whatever. That's the one thing I'll disagree on, is ultimately, yes, in the grand scheme of things, all of this is canon because it was made that way.
Yeah.
You yourself, if you don't care about this thing and in your head canon you want to forget it or whatever, I have no problem with that. Just don't force that on other people.
Yeah. Also, if you're so desperate to hold on to your vision of Star Wars that you have to come up with your own imaginary stories and imaginary friends to preserve it, that's pathetic.
Yeah, that is
your headcanon is pathetic. You're pathetic.
Yeah, if you're coming up with it's one thing to write fan fiction. I'm actually okay with people writing fan fiction, but if you're just saying that your fan fiction is canon and stuff, that's a whole nother ball game, where it's like, hey, like, you might enjoy writing this, but I don't know, like do something else.
I don't like Rise of Skywalker personally. Like, I don't think that's a good movie, but it happened. It's there. It is the real finale.
Yeah. I hate Rise of Skywalker. It is still there. I hate Rise of Skywalker. I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm not gonna like talk about. I don't think anyone, even if you do think it's canon, I don't think anyone does talk about it, because it's just like, it's there.
You know what? Fine. I'm going to start talking about it then. Eventually,
I'm going to
bring Rise of Skywalker into every Star Wars discussion. I'm going to talk about its implications for the lore and the canon. I'm going to have to make myself watch it a bunch, unfortunately, so that I can do it effectively.
Teo will watch it so much that he will learn to love it.
It's pretty rough. There are parts that are held together with duct tape and chewing gum.
Also, I should say, I don't hate it. That was more hyperbole. I do dislike it, though. I don't think I hate anything, like literally anything. I don't think I hate anything.
Brandon just doesn't have that kind of passion in his heart.
Yeah, well, I think people throw around hate too flippantly.
Yeah.
Like the word hate. Like, there's a lot of meaning and impact to that kind of loses it with how much it's been used. I strongly dislike Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I only use hate when I genuinely feel passionately enough that, like, I genuinely hate something. Unfortunately, I am a very passionate person, as you could probably tell. So there are probably a lot more things that I can actually declare to hate.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, again, even if it was my favorite Star Wars movie, like if it was A New Hope or whatever, I'm not gonna like die on a hill like with this battle, because I know this sounds mean and stuff. Like, these things do matter and are real, but at the end of the day, they don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To where, me using strong language like hate or anything like that, it's like, I can't say that about this. It's just this thing.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even say, like, there are movies that I love, but I honestly can't even say I love my favorite Star Wars movie, which is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is supposed to be a Deadpool and Wolverine review.
Yes, Deadpool Wolverine.
So after She-Hulk twerks on all the TVA guys,
She twerks. Oh my gosh, it wouldn't have fit for the movie, but man, in terms of like rage baiting people,
yeah.
her twerking on the dead body of Logan.
Oh yeah. That would have been fantastic, and probably the only time in my life I would have been jealous of a fictional corpse. But yeah, so I personally thoroughly enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine overall. But I want to talk about negative thoughts first, so that we can end on positive stuff.
Yeah,
because I do have some criticisms.
I've got some criticisms as well. At the end of the day, I will say, I had a good time in the theater. Ultimately, this is a great theater experience. Like, it's something that people should. I'm going to say this, should have gone to see.
Yeah,
because we're a few weeks in.
yeah. This is a sort of movie that I think benefits from seeing it in the theater, but I don't know. I don't know quite how it's going to hold up on a rewatch. Like at home.
Yeah. And I'll get to that in a second, because, and we'll get to the positives in a little bit. We will focus on negatives first, but I ultimately do think it was a fun time. I think it's good in terms of funness.
Yeah,
I wasn't in love with it, but it was a good fun time, and we'll get into multiple negatives here, like your negatives, my negatives. One thing I thought about, I'm not saying it will do this, but something I thought about is I wonder if it will have a slightly similar effect to Spider-Man No Way Home. In that everyone that went to go see that movie, majority people loved Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
I still really love it. I've only seen it the once, though. I haven't rewatched it. But a lot of the online discourse now of people that have went back to it, they're like, it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've rewatched No Way Home once since I saw it in the theater. And while I still very thoroughly enjoyed it, I will say it is one of those ones where once that like initial theater experience and the hype of it all wears off, it does have diminishing returns once there are no more surprises.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Deadpool and Wolverine will be to that extent where like the majority saw it as like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And then a few years later, it's now like a 6 out of 10 with everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will be to that extent, but I'm wondering if it will go slightly down for people. Because it is ultimately a great theater experience, but I think the reason people love it so much is it is ultimately a good, fun movie. But I think part of it that played into how much enjoyment the average person got out of this, that watches Marvel movies and stuff, and superhero movies in general, is we've had a year and a half almost of not great superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Like the last great thing was Guardians 3.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying any of the other stuff is bad. It's just like we've had okay stuff.
Yeah.
And some bad stuff, depending on who wants to talk about it. To where like it's this buildup and this thirst for just something.
Yeah. Everybody's
different.
thirsty for Deadpool.
Do what?
Everybody's thirsty for Deadpool.
Yeah. Everybody's thirsty for Deadpool. And it builds and builds, and you're without these superhero movies for so long, even though it's really 8-9 month time span, but that is a long time for our modern superhero landscape sort of thing.
Yeah.
To where once something came out, it could be good, but I think with all that build up and thirsting for something good, it then excels people a little bit more.
Yeah.
In their thought of it.
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to talk about as far as like some negatives is and this kind of goes in line with what we've been talking about, where I don't think that this movie is going to age super well because of a lot of the subject matter of its humor, which is the
Fox.
the Disney Fox buyout.
Yeah.
And like all I could think, like those are funny jokes, but those jokes are funny to you and me because we've been keeping track of that.
Yeah, we know about
what
this.
about like the grandpa in the theater who still leans over to his grandson wondering when Superman's going to show up in an Avengers movie?
I literally hinted at this a couple weeks ago when we briefly talked about Deadpool and Wolverine, like my thoughts on it, but I didn't want to spoil anything. And one of the statements I remember saying was, and I tried to be very vague about it, but I was like, us that are like integrated into pop culture and stuff and these movies, like we get all this stuff and all that. And the thing I said is like, I don't know if someone who has just watched, like this is the average moviegoer, basically someone that has just watched like a few Marvel movies, doesn't really keep up with all this pop culture news and stuff of like buyouts as well as the cameos and all this stuff that's going to happen. They don't keep up with all this stuff, and they've only seen a few Marvel movies. I feel like they jump into this and it's just like, what the hell is going on with some of these jokes and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there are some people that like who still don't realize that the X-Men movies weren't a part of the MCU.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's
a huge part of Sony's marketing strategy for their Spum movies is that they're really hoping people don't realize those aren't actually Marvel Studios films.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because there's a good bit of people that think Madam Web is a part of the same universe. Oh, Tom Holland, he's going to pop up any moment, even though he's a baby in this movie because it's 2001.
Well, he's a baby in every movie. Look at him.
That's true. He's got baby face.
Yeah, he's a little boy.
But I mean, I see it across not just Marvel. Like I literally saw this today. There was a post about the James Gunn Superman movie.
Yeah,
and some of the comments were like, when are they going to end this universe, or like when are they going to give this universe up, thinking it's a part of like the DCEU stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
They don't realize that this is a reboot universe. To the average person, especially like a grandma or grandpa, they don't understand or know what, if you say reboot or anything, re-sequel, whatever, they're like, what the hell? Are you speaking another language? Like, what are you talking about?
And like I said, like there are some grandparents who are still asking their kids, so when does Superman show up at an Avengers movie?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not realizing that not every superhero lives in the same universe.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, at least as far as the movies were concerned, none of them lived in the same universe. Every superhero movie was an isolated continuity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it will be interesting to see how this ages. It's gonna be really interesting to see, like 50 years from now, if we're still alive, like people hearing about this or going back to this movie and not getting half of the references or jokes.
Yeah, because it'll be so far in the rearview mirror that it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah, because a lot of it is like current event stuff that's happening behind the scenes. And
like getting Blade and Elektra and X-23 in there, that's cool. That's something that is recognizable, and it's fun stuff, and it does reward longtime fans of all of these movies, not just the MCU stuff.
Yeah.
And while I liked having Channing Tatum in the movie as Gambit because I thought that was fun,
Yeah.
the entire core of that joke being that he was supposed to be Gambit but never got to be is going to be lost on a regular viewer.
Oh, yeah. 20, 50 years from now, no one is going to get that joke right there. Yeah. As well as they likely won't care at that point about like those early Marvel movies and stuff.
Yeah.
To where the slow-mo or the long shot of Blade walking in, then Electro walking in, then like they're going to be like, why is it, am I supposed to know this person? Like, why is it taking so long? Why are we focused on this person walking in?
Yeah.
Because it ultimately is a fan service moment for the theater. It is a pop moment. It's a theater pop moment. And theater did pop. I love those scenes, but it is one of those things where age-wise, I'm not sure how that will hold up.
Yeah. So to me, Deadpool and Wolverine is a movie that was made with like a specific in crowd in mind. And while that's an in crowd that you and I are both a part of because we've been following this type of stuff our entire lives, it does make this sort of thing hard to share with people.
Yeah.
Who don't eat, sleep, and breathe superhero stuff.
Yeah, as well as like doesn't, and understandably so, doesn't want to like go back and do the research or homework, whether it's watching these previous movies or looking at these previous articles or hearing a video talking about these meta jokes that are happening with business practices that are happening. Like I completely understand someone not wanting to do all that stuff.
Yeah. So Deadpool and Wolverine, as far as the humor goes, is a movie that's just gonna fly over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah, and there's that is the plus side with Deadpool and Wolverine is like there are so many jokes and stuff that there will be a decent bit that fly over people's heads, but there are some jokes that's like haha he said cuss word or he said this or that sort of.
That's what Scoutmaster Kevin used to say. That's probably my favorite line in the movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It's so out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Like, yes, this is like rated R, but there are some stuff, and I'll get to that in a second, as minor negatives. They're not even that bad, but there's some stuff where it's like, okay, it's rated R, but it is like Marvel Disney rated R, so they're going to hold back a little bit.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised a line like that made it through, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the pegging reference at the top of the movie is also like a bit of a tone setter.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, like the movie overall, it was pretty interesting. I liked Cassandra as an antagonist.
Yeah.
And for me personally, Jackman's portrayal of Wolverine in this movie, I think is like up there with Logan as one of his absolute best performances of this character.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree 100%. Yeah,
because
he, like, did an amazing job.
Yeah, like because like that my favorite scene in the entire movie is the Honda Odyssey scene.
Yes, yeah, like I'll circle back to some negatives in a second because I do want to get the negatives out of the way.
Yeah, because my only real negative was the inside nature of the jokes. So it's all going to be positive for me from here on.
Yeah, I've got a few more negatives, but yeah, like in terms of best scenes for me, the Honda Odyssey fight, and because there's multiple fights in this movie.
Yeah,
best fight of the movie. Like one, it is like funny. It is just like it is a funny joke and stuff. I also think it's the best fight. I think the choreography and the camera work and stuff is great. I love the Honda Odyssey scene. That's my favorite scene of the movie.
To me, it's also the best emotional beat of the movie. It's that moment where both Logan and Wade have finally like worn each other down to such like nubs of people, like emotionally, that they're just they've got nothing left to do but beat on each other.
Yeah, for like hours because you see the day-night cycle.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, with the coexist sticker getting coated in blood.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah,
and the subtle hint that Wolverine absolutely won that fight with Deadpool getting wrapped up in the seatbelts.
And the seatbelt wrap up, like that reveal, that was like, I don't know, that was fantastic. Like,
yeah,
I'll remember a good bit about this movie, but that's one of the number one things I'll stick with me like years down the road.
Yeah.
I really like that whole scene. Before I get to like my second favorite scene, I want to go back to negatives. That way, like my negatives, so I don't. I like you had mentioned before. I want to end on a positive note.
Yeah,
I don't want to circle back to negatives at the end. What was another negative for me dealt with kind of the plot, the narrative. I'm okay with the whole, because ultimately it is just a fun, jokey movie, but plot as a whole is like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with them being sent into the void and stuff. I'm pretty much okay with everything. The last act, plot wise, ultimately jokes help cover it.
Yeah.
The last act, plot wise, is just, I don't know, it's kind of weak. The whole like Cassandra like wanting to, what was she wanting to do? Was she wanting to put all the universes in the void, or was she wanting to destroy all the universes?
I think she wanted to melt all the universes so there was nothing left but the void, because she already has power there.
Okay. Yeah, see, the character I saw earlier in the movie doesn't make me think that's what she would want to do.
Yeah, that doesn't really gel with the way she's presented. Like, she is presented as being cruel and selfish and like sadistic, but not world conquering.
No, not at all. Because what I would
just have her little community of goons that she can bully around.
Exactly, because ultimately that last act with her putting her fisting the machine.
Yeah,
that's a good way.
And rolling her eyes back into her head, which made me feel weird things in the theater.
Her fisting the machine, that just felt like
the Machine
we need
is the title of my new hentai project.
Yeah, that's my Fisting the Machine is my parody Rage Against the Machine band. But like that just felt like such like a third act, we need big bad guy thing. Yeah. Okay, we'll throw her in there. Because realistically, with how her character is seen before and stuff, I could see her doing the little Doctor Strange portal thing and coming in there, but her just taking Paradox into the void and torturing him.
Yeah, and that like could have been the karmic comeuppance for him as the actual villain of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I could have seen that where she puts her hand in his head and all that and just pulls him into the void. Or I mean, like, even to a bigger extent, doesn't have to be this. She winds up killing all the TVA agents, like the bad TVA agents that are on Paradox's team. Kills all them while they activated the machine, and she dips out with Paradox because she's going to go torture him and stuff.
Yeah.
And now Deadpool and Wolverine are left to stop the machine that is already active.
Yeah, that probably would have been that as a finale. That would have made a lot more sense.
It's story-wise, it makes so much more sense, and you can still get the hand-holding scene of them two. Like, you can still get that where they're the Wolverine claws are in the machine, and Deadpool's holding this part of the machine, and they're holding their hands, and it's playing Madonna. You can still get that scene.
That was such an epic scene, dude. I felt such powerful emotions watching that.
It was a great scene, but I think you could have got it with the way I had just mentioned.
Yeah, you absolutely.
Plot-wise, it's still it makes more sense in terms of Cassandra's character.
Yeah, it's a lot more sound, and it is more consistent with her. Yeah, like you said, with her character. Yeah, you know, it really did feel like she just needed to try to destroy the universe because they needed a big bad at the end.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like I didn't hate her character. Like I thought it was. I mean, it's not like super 3-dimensional, but it doesn't have to be. But like her character in the Void is good. She's
Yeah.
the aside from the Cloud from Loki, she is
Elias.
Aliyah. Thank you. She is the main threat in the Void.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. And really your big bad, if you have to have a big bad of the movie, is Paradox slash TVA slash this corporation sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, she wipes him out coming back. She takes Paradox into the Void to torture him and put her fingers in his head and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then Logan and Wolverine have to Wolverine and Deadpool have to stop the machine that had been activated.
I remembered another criticism I have. Now, I did enjoy this scene personally. I liked it a lot, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I really don't get why it was there. The Deadpool and Wolverine versus the Deadpool Corps scene. Why did the Deadpool Corps want to kill Deadpool?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Plot wise, I have an issue with it. In terms of the scene as a whole, I don't have a big issue with it. My issue with it is like, I know a lot of people love that scene. That was like, it was cool fighting all that. Me personally, I did not care. Like the part that makes you care is like Hugh Jackman is in the costume and he puts the cowl down and you see him going berserker Wolverine mode. That's what you care about.
Yeah.
That's what you care about. Like, I could care less about the Deadpool Corps getting slaughtered and stuff. I know that sounds mean. I know there's big Deadpool fans that love the Deadpool Corps.
Yeah.
But like that scene, what you actually care about is Wolverine going Wolverine.
I genuinely don't understand, like, even with context, why the scene happened. Again, I like the scene, but I don't understand why it happened.
Yeah, it's a good scene, but narrative wise, it makes no sense really.
Now, one of the things I love about the scene is how universally they all adore Dogpool.
Yes.
To the extent that they won't shoot at Wolverine as long as he's holding her.
Yeah. That was great, and a subtle thing I liked that concluded the scene. Ultimately, it was like a quick wrap up, but I was okay with it. Was they all have a Peter?
Yeah,
and they all love Peter. Like I like that. That's funny. It shows that they are all like somewhat dumb Wade Wilson.
Yeah,
essentially.
They're all Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was fun. I liked. For me, in the moment, I was thinking like that's as good a conclusion to this fight as any. Because like after it happened, I was for the whole fight, I was thinking to myself like, wait, can't these guys just like get back up? And then like
and then that happened.
And then they actually did, and I was like, oh, okay, they did think about that. And I was like, well, as fun as that was, I don't want to have to watch Deadpool and Wolverine do that all again.
Yeah, I don't want to see it again. And I'm glad
so
they had
having
Peter
show up to resolve everything was, for me, I was like, that's good, that's fine, I like that.
Peter, that was it, and that's not even like I completely forgot about like Peter showing up till we started talking about this, but I also liked when Peter showed up where it's the ill-fitting costume.
Yeah.
You just see like his junk, just like it's really bad, but it's very funny.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love like once they're all like, it's Peter, and they're like all like mob him and they're all jumping up and down. And he's like on a party in the middle. That's a great scene. Yeah, I liked the way that concluded, but
thinking about it, I think that might be where my negatives end. Like my negatives were basically what we both agreed on at the beginning of like it is a bunch of cultural stuff that probably won't stand up.
It won't be relevant even in another 5 years.
Exactly. And then my other, like the biggest criticism from me was the kind of third act structure of the plot sort of thing.
Which now that you bring it up, I have to agree with that because it doesn't really fit Cassandra's character.
Yeah, like that was like my biggest gripe with the movie. But I mean, aside from that, it was a fun time. Like that's kind of where my negatives end.
Yeah.
Um, like I had mentioned the Honda Odyssey fight,
Mm.
that being probably my favorite scene of the whole movie. My second favorite scene slash joke of the whole movie is the end credits. This is one of the first times in a long time I have actually really liked the end credits. I because this was one of the funniest jokes to me, because it's they structured it well throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's the whole Johnny Storm thing, and throughout the whole movie, after Deadpool supposedly gets Johnny killed, throughout the whole movie there'll be mentions here and there where it's like, oh, where's Johnny? And it's like, this
Yeah.
idiot got him killed or whatever, or it's like, let's not talk about that. And
Yeah.
Deadpool the whole time is still standing up for himself. He's like, he got himself killed. And it's like, you as the viewer, you're like, okay, Deadpool, sure. And then the end credit scene revealing the whole camera thing, and Deadpool being like, let's play this back. And all of the lines that Deadpool said that are just so over the top.
The fact that he quoted him verbatim and didn't
Yes.
even include all the most vulgar stuff at the end.
Yes. Like I think that was hilarious. I love that joke. And it's like, because I talked to someone about this. It's one of the first times in a long time where I'm glad I stayed for the after credits.
Yeah.
Because it's gotten to a point where I just don't care to stay for after credits. I'll just look up an article later and find out, okay, here's the next movie that's happening, or here's here's the scene, or whatever.
And basically ever since the first Avengers movie came out, mid credits has been the tease for the next movie, and end credits has been like a quick joke. Like the exception to this, I think, being like Winter Soldier, where the very end credits was a tease for Age of Ultron. But for the most part, like especially recently, like far end credits has been some kind of joke, and mid credits has been the actual tease.
And a lot of people with the end credits, where it is a joke or something tying to the movie you just watched directly, a lot of people have said, like the past few years, that like that was so. I don't know if it was worth waiting another 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
This one, I felt like it was completely worth it.
Oh yeah.
I like the joke a lot.
It was great. I love that bit. Yeah, for me, I know that the way that Wolverine was written and acted in this movie is basically just Logan again. But I really like the fact that there is a key difference with this one as compared to Logan. Because Logan is clearly bitter about like his time with the X-Men.
Right.
Whereas with this one, he's remorseful and reverent of the X-Men.
Yeah.
It's a subtle difference, but it's an important one.
Yeah.
And the fact that like he wears the suit because he refused to wear it when they were still alive, and they all wanted him to wear it. He said Scott used to beg me to wear it. So now he wears it now that they're gone, to like do what little he can to honor the memory of the X-Men from his world. And I like that. And my second favorite scene, I think, is the bit where Deadpool and Wolverine have Cassandra in the Juggernaut helmet. Especially because of Logan's like conversation with Cassandra that he has when she looked into his mind, and she realizes that Charles really loved Logan, and his response to that is, of course he did, because he loved all of us, and he would have loved you too if he had known about you. And it's like I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, because that's not just Wolverine like just saying something to flatter her. Like you can tell that he genuinely believes that Charles would have loved Cassandra had she been there.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a tragedy in that line.
Yeah. Like all the that's where like most of the seriousness kind of comes from, is through Logan's character, Wolverine's character in this movie. And yeah, like we had talked about before, Hugh Jackman does. Oh, what were you saying?
You go ahead. You go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was saying Hugh Jackman does an amazing job delivering it. Similar to what you said before, like rivals in terms of performance to Logan sort of thing.
Yeah, for me, something that I noticed, though, in terms of Deadpool as a character, is it feels like... Now, I don't know what he was like in Deadpool 2, because I haven't seen it yet. Excuse me. Sorry.
Bless you.
Man, I've still not seen Deadpool 2. But for me, in this one, it feels like they were finally able to capture even a tiny bit of the Deadpool that I love from the comics for probably the first time. Where, because they've touched on some of it in the previous films, but this is the first one where like this actually felt like Joe Kelly's Deadpool from the 1997 run.
Okay,
where he's a deeply insecure person who just wants to be important.
Yeah, because that's the whole theme of the movie for his character.
And like in the comics, especially the way that Joe Kelly writes him, there's a lot more to that, where like he wants connection, but he's afraid of letting people get close enough to hurt him, so he pushes them away and hurts them first.
Yeah.
He, like, on the rare occasions when he does let someone in, even the tiniest perceived slight will have him shutting them out again. Like he's a character. I don't know if I'm revealing a little too much of myself to say this, but like Deadpool has always been a character that I felt I could relate to personally. Because in the comic books, at least, I see a lot of myself in him. And I know that's like kind of cringy to say, like, oh, I would absolutely be like Deadpool if I was a superhero. It's like everybody who thinks they would be Rick from Rick and Morty, if that was a real thing. It's like, no, like, I mean, like, not in terms of the humor or like the badass mercenary stuff. I mean, in terms of like who Deadpool is as a person. He's someone I identify with a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were able to get some of that in this movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because for a long time, I've been a little critical of Reynolds' interpretation of Deadpool because he leans a little too hard into edginess and like a juvenile vulgarity to the character that, for the most part, isn't present in the source material.
It's something that's present like later on, but like much later on.
Oh yeah, and but at the same time, there's because the comic books have to maintain more of a PG rating. There's something of a sophistication to the way Deadpool has to be presented in the comics, whereas in an R-rated movie, when you can just say the F word whenever you want, you don't have to think about it as hard.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I like Deadpool is one of my all-time favorite superheroes and has been since I was 16. So, and like I said, he's a character that I identify really strongly with. And so I'm always going to be pretty heavily critical of how he's presented in the media outside the comics.
Yeah.
Because I do like the Deadpool movies. It's just I've always found there was something missing from Reynolds' Deadpool, but this one got some of what I love about Deadpool right, and that's a very strong step in the right direction for him as a character.
Yeah. Overall, I really like the movie. You probably witnessed this, even if it was, well, how many people were in your auditorium, sort of thing?
I want to say it was about half full.
Okay, so we
went like 1 or 2 weeks late. So.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, did you witness any like pops for like character appearances and stuff?
No, there wasn't really anything along the lines of gasps or applause or anything.
Oh, okay.
It was a pretty quiet experience for us. Like my group was like, oh dang, like whoa, like during the action sequences and stuff, and like we were pretty excited, but I couldn't tell if anybody else was.
Okay. At least with the theater I'd went to, like a week after coming out, even a week after, I witnessed some pops. The biggest one was Blade. Like that was the one where
he was always going to be the biggest one.
Yeah. I heard like a ton of like, oh, like stuff like that. And that was fun. And that's also that's also why I mentioned at the beginning.
People had to be removed from your theater.
Yeah, they're just cut, especially during that scene, because it's every 30 seconds or minute is another person to about.
Right, this guy needs to change his pants. That's like Deadpool said at the beginning. Get your special sock out, nerds.
Yeah.
This is gonna be. I think he was, and you think he's talking about just that action sequence when it happens, but by the end you realize he's talking about the entire movie.
Yeah, it's the movie as a whole. It really is for the nerds, and that's great. Like it's made for this time. But yeah, like I had mentioned at the very beginning, like this is a great theater experience and needed to be seen in theater because of these pops and stuff, like these crowd reactions and stuff like that, because it just heightens it. It was fun, like hearing people hearing shared laughter and stuff, as well as whenever Blade comes out or someone comes out and everyone be like, oh, like that sort of stuff was really cool. I'm trying to think another bit. I think the second biggest one was probably the Johnny Storm one, in terms of laughter, as well as like, that was one. I don't know if I audibly did it, but I think that was the one where I was like, oh, like I don't really. I mean, I like Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
And I know it's not entirely the Fox Fantastic Four movie Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
It's just some sort of variant of him. But and I don't like care about the character a lot, but it was one of those things where I was like, oh, but I think that also played into like the switcheroo that they did.
Yeah.
Where you think it's a variant of Cap, but really, hey, Johnny Storm, to where that happens, and then it has your mind racing almost like subconsciously of like, well, if they have Human Torch here, like what other Fox thing could they have? Where it kind of has you a little bit excited, sort of thing.
Yeah, I almost knocked Nicole off my lap when I was when that happened. I was like, oh, she's like, calm down. Watch where you're pointing.
Yeah, Nicole probably the whole time was like, they keep calling it the Void. This is just the Outback. This is just my backyard.
This is where I live. I dig holes in the dirt and I sleep in them. Sometimes I find George Miller out there. He's filming the Mad Max movies all the time. Running naked through the desert.
Yeah, and then there was the Mad Max callback sort of, or not really callback, but reference sort of thing. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
The intentional blue balls on the Wolverine and Sabretooth fight.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny that happening. Because at least with like one, it ultimately is a blue balls joke towards the comic nerds that have wanted to see this for so long. But it also is one of those things where the Wolverine we know now would destroy that Sabretooth.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things where, yes, it's a blue balls thing, blue balls joke sort of thing, but it is also like, yeah, that's probably how it would end.
Plus, this Wolverine, even in terms of his general like power set, is a little bit different than what we've been shown in
that's
Fox
true.
movies. Because they gave him his super strength in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I know Wolverine's super strength is incredibly limited compared to other strong characters, but he does have it. He would need it
it's
for
there.
for the weight of his skeleton. But
Yeah.
So like, but the fact that like there were moments where he uses his body as a battering ram multiple times. Really leaning into the fact that he is made up half, at least, of about an indestructible metal.
Yeah.
Like his entire skeleton's covered in it. He's gonna be strong and heavy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's because not a lot of the previous X-Men movies really leaned into the idea that Wolverine might be physically strong. They really leaned on him being the nimble knife guy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But in the comic books, like, he's a berserker. He doesn't cut or stab as often as he slashes and tears.
Yeah. Like the first time we truly got that, I think, with the movie was the end of Logan, where he's just going through the forest.
Yeah.
Just like, because I remember that theater experience. That was another like nerds creaming their pants moment.
Yeah.
Where like it's Logan in berserker mode, basically. Like,
yeah. And that was supposed to be the last hurrah at the time.
Yeah. But I'm trying to. There's tons of positives with this. The thing is, if you almost have to nitpick positives, not in a bad way, but more just like trying to pick them out, because a lot of the positives are like that joke funny, that joke funny, that joke funny. And there's so many jokes that they are, for the most part, all funny. It's just hard to remember all of them.
Yeah. And for me, one thing that I kind of noticed, and that I think might come about from this, is I think Hugh Jackman might be coming back as Wolverine longer term than we thought. It's possible. I don't think it's a guarantee, but the thing is, like, he hasn't missed a step. Like with that performance, it was incredible. And the thing is, I don't necessarily think it's that he needed to retire from the Wolverine role. I think it's that he just needed a longer break than he usually takes, because it's not like he was just pumping Wolverine movies out annually anyway, but he was coming back every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he needed that break to, like, one, just like not have to have this crazy regimen every single day for
this crazy regimen of working out and steroids.
like not having to do that every day for 10 plus years, as well as like I think it happens with any person, whether actor or creative, when they've been doing something for so long, like not a burnout, but more they just need to get like reignited sort of thing. And sometimes that reignition happens when you step back for a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely, got to branch out after Wolverine and start, doing more of what he wanted to do for a long time. Because Hugh Jackman, from my understanding, just wanted to be a song and dance man for a long time.
Yeah. He was able to do Greatest Showman and all that. He got what he wanted, and now Disney, I talked to someone about this. It's definitely a mix of two things. One, I think he has great rapport with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Like really great rapport, to where like Ryan definitely played a big part in getting Hugh Jackman to come back in this movie.
Yeah.
And another big part is Disney backed up a dump truck of money and dumped it on his front lawn and said, "Hey, this is all yours if you just come back for this one ride right here." And hey, we got 2 more back there.
I was gonna say, if this isn't enough, we've got 2 more of these.
Well, we also have multiple more coming. If you want to do some more after this, they're on their way.
Until you're 90.
Oh yeah, like that was a great, funny meta joke and stuff. It's so true though. like it's not guaranteed, but
hell, Downey can't even get away from it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, didn't he say that? Or
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like Robert Downey Jr. can't even get away from it. Sure, he's coming back as a different character, but
Yeah, you throw enough money at these guys and they will do it. I mean, it's with anyone. Everyone has their price. Um, but yeah, I do think Ryan Reynolds did play a big part of him coming back. But yeah,
Oh,
like if they, I'm not saying they're going to give him Robert Downey Jr. money.
yeah.
They're going to give him a good bit though.
No, I was gonna say they are gonna give him Hugh Jackman money.
Yeah, they're going to give him like big bucks to have him back, and they're ultimately showing up with a blank check and saying how much. Write it down.
Yeah.
Write down whatever amount. Okay.
How much for us to be able to make a CGI model of you running around on all fours for the next 50 years?
Yeah. Also, how much can we well, first, here's this contract. Sign this contract. Okay, you signed it. We'll also give you some money for that. What you just signed was that studio thing we put you in with all the lights and the cameras and stuff. We now have your likeness to where in 100 years, way past when you're dead, we can still use your likeness in this movie.
Yeah.
In Deadpool Wolverine 13. We'll have you in there.
Yeah. Something that I've heard is that apparently the reason this movie was titled Deadpool and Wolverine instead of just Deadpool 3, other than the fact that, Wolverine's one of the two leads in it, is that there apparently might still be plans for an actual Deadpool 3, and this technically wouldn't be a part of Deadpool's trilogy.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
This would just be a side team-up movie that has massive implications for Deadpool's personal storyline.
Yeah. I ultimately just saw it as like, yeah, that's the best marketing choice. Like everyone loves Wolverine. They love Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
You have that in the title, like everyone does like Deadpool. Like all the people that have watched Deadpool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you add that in with just the title, like people are going to flock to it. Like I mean, like I think anyone could say this isn't like big brain Brandon moment or anything. This movie, if it was Deadpool 3, probably would have got $1 billion, maybe close to $1 billion, even if it's the same exact movie. It's the same exact movie we just saw, but it's just called Deadpool 3. The Deadpool and Wolverine title change.
Oh yeah.
That gave it an extra $500 million, if not more.
You know what I'm still a little upset about with Deadpool 2?
What's that?
The fact that it wasn't titled something a little more clever, like the untitled Deadpool sequel.
Yeah. I
feel like Deadpool as a franchise deserves wittier names than
do something
numbers.
Do something meta with the sequel titles because it works. Like Deadpool's a meta character, you can do that. Just don't do only because it's just too complicated. Don't do the emancipation of Harley Quinn. Whatever the heck that title was that no
with a
one
bunch
can
of
remember.
made up words in it.
Yeah, just a bunch of words to where later on they just changed it to Birds of Prey. Yeah, that was your theatrical release title. That is not good.
No.
And that's not bashing the quality of the movie. Like I still haven't seen it. I'll probably enjoy it when I get around to it. But that's just a horrible title in terms of marketing.
That is a garbage title. I'm somewhere where I'm not a fan of like super long titles myself, unless it is actually a joke.
Yeah.
Like I am all for 2 syllables. 3 if you need them.
I for the most part, I'm okay with like 2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
Even if each word has more than 1 syllable sort of thing. But yeah, once you get past 3 words, 3 is already a bit much.
Yeah.
But once you get past 3, it's iffy, man.
Yeah. So the last positive thing that I wanted to talk about with this movie, and I wasn't sure I was going to talk about this one, but I'm going to try. I really loved Deadpool's immediate adoration of Dogpool.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much my relationship with Frankie.
Yeah.
Which for longtime listeners who are still like who might have listened to Store Brand Comics at any point in the past, you might recognize Frankie's voice because she was a tiny little dog who would bark in the background of my audio on those podcasts a lot, and I would have to edit out the bits where I would leave whichever office I was recording in to go tell her to shut up.
Yeah, you would either hear Frankie try yelling to be let in or to be let out, or
Usually yelling at the mailman.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Or you would hear her slightly. It was like I couldn't hear it most of the time, but Teo would mention it. You would hear her slightly on Teo's lap, either sleeping or something.
Yeah, like she used to snore like an old man.
Yeah.
And a week ago today, as of this recording, my family had to say goodbye to her.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this movie in the theater, I had no idea that was coming because it took us all really by surprise when it happened.
Yeah.
And it just brought me so much joy seeing, once again, what I feel is an aspect of myself represented in this character.
Yeah.
So it was great. I loved it.
It's a great scene as a whole. Like ultimately the Deadpool core stuff was like fun and funny, and seeing all the Deadpool core stuff. In terms of that scene, the two that stuck out to me were Nice Pool and Dogpool. In terms of ones that I enjoyed, like thoroughly enjoyed seeing and seeing interactions with.
The two shields.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
And I one of my favorite lines in the movie is when after Nice Pool gets shot, and Deadpool's been using him as a human shield, and then he lays him down. He's like, "How long does it take you to regenerate?" And then Nice Pool opens his mouth with a waterfall of blood coming out and says, "Regenerate?"
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, and Wolverine.
And the bit where he's going back across again and just holds him there in the gunfire.
Yeah.
You can tell that Deadpool just wanted his dog and his guns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He gets to the other end and stuff, and he's talking with Wolverine. He's just like, got these golden 50 cal Desert Eagles and stuff. Yeah, and Wolverine's just like, "You're a sick bastard," or he says something.
Yeah.
That was also another thing is like the dynamic between Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
I think was very, very great.
I love the fact that Wolverine actually had like commentary on Deadpool as a person, and like didn't just kind of silently observe. He always made it known that he was put off by Deadpool's behavior.
Yeah. Like it's always just like, "You're so messed up," or it's like, "Will you shut the hell up?" Like,
yeah.
Like I thought it was great.
And and again, going back to that Honda Odyssey scene, like the lead up to the fight is as enthralling as the fight itself.
Oh yeah.
Because it's that moment where Wolverine is finally just so fed up with Wade, and he just releases this long, vicious, vitriolic string of insults that are so personal and like such an attack on who Deadpool is.
And you obviously tell it like gets to Deadpool.
Oh yeah,
like because he's quiet throughout, and like you don't hear it or anything, but you could almost see him under the mask, like looking down and possibly like not on the verge of tears, but like anger, because he does say the one thing where it's like, "I'm gonna fight you now."
Yeah,
like
so it's just such a great scene, and like capping it off with, it's one of God's best jokes that you can't die. It's
yeah.
That's just such a mean thing to say.
That's so mean. It was great.
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah, I overall, I think it's good. I'd mentioned my negatives, but overall, it's a good movie. Of movies that have come out this year, it's on the better end of the movies that have come out. There's been a lot of mediocre stuff that's come out this year, but it's one of the good ones.
Yeah. I like that there's a version of Logan and Laura that get to be together in these movies.
Yeah.
Actually get to be a family.
Yeah, that was nice.
And the thing is, like, I think the movie's trying to imply at the end that, like, Deadpool's kind of incorporating them into his little found family.
Yeah. I could tell that with that end part.
There's still an X-Men on Deadpool's world, so Wolverine does kind of have a version of his old friends to go
true.
back.
Yeah, Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and then all the other X-Men.
I was gonna say it's pretty much
see.
confirmed in like one of the cameos in Deadpool 2 that at least Nicholas Holt's Beast is in his world.
Yeah.